I don't know about you, but with this weird spring we've been having, my tomatoes they're not going to make it.
We are live, everybody. Episode 46, Kamloops Last Week. We are deep down in the Belsa of Fleece Music. That's not Chris Foltz. That's Michael Potestio, back to co-host with us today. Greg the engineer, Mike, Bill behind the camera, trying to make us look good as they always do. Michael, first things first here, your outfit today. Can you stand up for us? Is that possible? He's got his Blazers colors on there. Although his pants are more pumpkin than orange.
More pumpkin, you think,
I'd say.
I think they look bang on.
Greg?
Look good, yeah.
Looks good.
I couldn't find a jersey is what it was. So I decided the colors would do.
No, you did a good job. You got a haircut too, it looks like. Looking good. We got a good show today. Peaks Mayor Al Raine is going to come on. He's going to talk to us about what?
He's going to talk to us a little bit about the Olympic Games, the 2030 Olympics. Sun Peaks, we found out this week, is in the running to replace Cypress Mountain as one of the venues if the Vancouver bid for 2030 becomes successful. Yeah,
we'll talk to Al more about that. You were also covering a tragic event yesterday in town at the Mount Paula Industrial Park, a fatal ammonia leak. Also, Kamloops Blazers Game 5 tonight. They can go up 3-2 in the series. Sounds like it's going to be close to a sellout crowd, which is good news. Mike, Frank Caputo, Bill, what's going on there? Mike, you'll be interested in this. It's crime related.
Yeah, so our MP, Frank Caputo, he just put forward, he's a member of the Conservative Party. They're the official opposition in Parliament, so they don't have power, but they can introduce things such as private members' bills. And what those do is essentially you put forward something basically out of government, saying that the government should do this. What he's put forward is a bill that would essentially amend the bail system in Canada to, by the looks of it, almost like a 3 strikes you're out type of thing. So a lot of times people will get released on bail pretty regularly, but he's suggesting essentially if you end up with 3 convictions, sort of if you're like a prolific offender or something, you would automatically get detained and you'd be denied bail if you had this criminal rap sheet. It's not something that's likely to be taken up by the Liberal government, but I've talked to Frank, and I've seen him around town. He's been talking to a lot of business owners, and they want to see something done when it comes to crime in Kamloops.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's pretty difficult because we get hit with a lot of theft, a lot of needless theft, a lot of damage, that kind of a thing. So yeah, I think something needs to be done. I think it needs to be done at the core of the problem, which is more of a mental health and social help thing, I think.
Yeah.
But also, you've got some guys that are just prolific. It's like they go shopping. And I see them drive down my street looking at everybody's yards, planning their route for that night. So, something needs to be done.
Okay. Some acrimony today, I noticed it again. And we've got the Italian flag out. Last time Michael was on here, you took a real run. He's a North Shore Italian. Mike's a South Shore Italian.
Through and through.
It's like a Sicilian turf war that Mike came on here and started.
Tamare versus Potestio.
Yes. So, and I want to go back again here, and there was some more stuff that kind of hit the cutting room floor that Michael had said. I will get your reaction to it after I kind of quote what Michael said here.
Oh.
So, very alarming stuff. He starts off, "Buongiorno. I'm Michael, son of Lee and Angie, brother to Oliver and Justin, child of the North Shore tomato vine." So again, like an arrogant start as he normally does. He continues, "Phony paisan, Mike Miltamore, and those of his fraudulent South Shore ilk lack virtue. Like an unseasoned meatball cultivated of South Shore cattle, the cursed beasts that feed off barren and fruitless land, the God-forsaken, unfertile southern soil that harvests only cowardice and feeds guitar makers who lack skill in their craft." Then he started singing the Long and McQuaid jingle. Did you recall this, and how do you react to it?
Well, it does hurt. As I said before, when I cut deep, and that was a deep, you can attack me all you want, but all the rest of the Italians on the South Shore, I take great offense to that. But also on a higher level, you know, when you're making fun of a bass player, it's not so nice because they don't get it. So I'm just not going to go down into those depths. And when you're playing in the ditches with the pigs, you're a pig. And I'm a happy South Shore. It's half Italian.
You took a bit of Mike. Just explain why do you come on the show and just take shots at Mike like this?
Yeah, again, I don't know if that is, in fact, a direct quote again, but I mean,
you come on here in your pumpkin pants and just start ripping people. Okay, let's move on. This is, we got a new mascot here.
Right.
This is Stephen Gordon, or Gord Stevens. We haven't figured it out yet. We have a new sponsor as of a couple of weeks ago, co-title sponsor, Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. And actually, speaking of acrimony, we've got Herman off camera here. And Gord Stevens having a stare down here. He's jealous about all the attention that Gord's getting. But we thank both of them for being on board with us. We do have a new commercial, and you can check it out right here. Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please. Friggin' $500 hydro bill, piece of trash. I need to speak to Gord on the Niner.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal. You should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money is not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle of the road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
There's no easy segue into this, so we'll just get right into it. Mike, you were on the scene yesterday at Mount Paul Industrial Park. Can you just kind of recap the story?
Yeah, so it was kind of a quiet Thursday in the newsroom, and saw on cam scan that there was this ammonia leak down at the Mount Paul Industrial Park there. So I ended up going to check it out. Me and Dave Eagles, I think this is one of his photos there. He came there. Essentially what happened was there at this ice making plant called Arctic Ice had some sort of ammonia leak somehow. They don't know. They're still investigating how exactly that happened. But they responded to this place. It sounds like they were working on some refrigeration equipment, decommissioning some things, and that's when the ammonia leaked and affected people in the building. We heard 6 people were assessed on scene by BC Ambulance. Another 4 were taken to hospital, including 1 in critical condition. And that person, unfortunately, passed away and died from the ammonia exposure there.
What were your kind of takeaways from being there?
It was kind of a harrowing scene. You know, as reporters, I'm used to covering things like, police standoffs and fires, but this was certainly a different animal because, as we all know, ammonia is this colorless gas, and it can be deadly. So when I arrived on scene, I basically just rolled up to the police roadblock there, and it was a windy day too. So we're sitting there, I'm thinking, usually with a fire, you know exactly, where the danger is and how to maneuver around it to do your job, assess the scene. This, I was like, am I too close? Am I not close enough? I ended up talking to the cop there who was manning the roadblock. They shut down about half of Sacre Road there and evacuated the businesses behind it. And he basically told me, he was a nice guy. He's like, well, you can go all the way up to those sandbags there. There's some sandbags outside somebody's property. He's like, but don't go past that because we don't know if the leak is under control yet. I'm just doing traffic control. And he said, and if you go down and pass out, I can't come save you. That's what he said to me. So it was kind of like a reality check there about just the fluidness of the situation, not sure what to deal with. So from a reporting standpoint, it was quite interesting.
Everything's safe over there now. There's investigations like WorkSafe and other people looking into how this happened now? Yeah,
the latest that we got was that WorkSafe BC, the RCMP in the corner, are now kind of investigating how the leak occurred. It sounds like from what we heard from the fire department that they kind of know kind of what was going on in terms of the leak, where it came from. I guess this refrigeration work is how it came about, but don't really know exactly how it leaked. Like, what was the malfunction? So essentially, right now, that's where things are. Officials essentially just investigating exactly how this managed to happen, how the ammonia leaked.
Okay, you can follow that story online, KamloopsThisWeek.com. Jessica Wallace wrote the story yesterday. Either her or you, I'm sure, will be following up on that at some point. Yeah. And we'll move on now to the title of Hastings. My life for the last few weeks has been kind of following this team, going to Langley to cover them when they were playing the Giants. They beat the Giants. I went to Seattle this past week to cover the T-Birds and Blazers series. Good crowds in Kent. Supposed to be close to a jam-packed building tonight at Sandman Center. You going tonight, Greg? No tickets tonight for Greg the engineer. Mike, you going?
No, unfortunately, I have other plans, but I have been to a few of the Blazers playoff games so far
this season.
This run, yeah. I got to see a few of the series against the Giants there. Very impressed with the team.
Standout players for you?
Stankoven, of course. He's just on fire, and I really like Garand. I mean, I know maybe he's not getting tested as much every night, but I mean, he just looks so good.
He's a vacuum cleaner. He's a Hoover. Actually, Gord's probably, you could sell him. He's that good of an appliance for the Blazers. Stankoven, though, 4 playoff hat tricks. That's never been done before. 17 goals, 29 points in 14 games. Greg leads the WHL in both categories. Dean Evison had 21 goals in 17 games in 1984 for the Junior Oilers, so Logan's chasing that. That's the most in franchise history. Blair Chapman, 24 goals in 20 games for the Saskatoon Blades. That's back in 1976. That's the league record. So, like we talked about on this show, and I was kind of encouraging people to get off their wallets and started a big firestorm, all I was trying to do was encourage people in the city to go and check this team out, because it's basically a once-in-a-lifetime thing that you're going to have a hometown kid like this just ripping it up, and they need the support. You know Big Jake from the city, Big Jake Caughill, the Zamboni driver?
The singer, yeah, of course.
The operatic Zamboni man. This is his last ride with the team. This series, he's hanging his Zamboni boots up, or whatever you wear when you drive a Zamboni. He's done. Did a little tribute for him in this video right here.
Since 2009, I've been here, so a little over 13, it'll be 13 and a half years this year. Always wanted to drive Zamboni like every other kid in Canada. I'm actually not leaving the building. I'm moving to day shift just to do mornings. I've sort of done everything I can do on nights, and the only thing I really liked about nights still was games, so.
What have you enjoyed about the driving?
Just the fans, the kids that are waving at you, the people you meet, reporters that write stories about you singing, things like that. Everything, just the game, the kids, you get to meet all the players, everything about it. I love this building.
When I'm writing late at night or after the game and everyone's gone, I can hear you singing on the Zamboni, so yeah. I'll miss that. Why did you do that? And because you have a great voice.
I've just always liked singing in the car, truck, whatever we're driving, so I figured to transfer it over to the Zamboni. Passes the time, and in this building, when it's empty, has amazing acoustics, so it's kind of fun to hear yourself. That night, I remember I was sitting in our lunchroom just after the game, and Night Moves came on. So then when I was walking out cleaning the benches, it was just already fresh in my head, so I started singing it. I forgot about how good Bob Seger is. So
it was not cool for the fans. There's no fans in here, but you really shone that season. I remember I was there for the first game, cheering the players on as the only voice there. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was good. Like, I got to know a lot of the kids, so like I golfed with Dylan in the summer, and then when I saw them coming out and no one was there to cheer for them, I figured someone had to yell. And I knew they'd get a kick out of it and laugh about it afterwards, but it's also just nice to hear that cheer, because it was just so empty in the building. It just felt so wrong.
What did it feel like tonight, driving around knowing it could be the last time?
Tearful at times, just looking up, seeing people that I've seen and waved at for the past 10 years, and I don't know, just it'll probably be more surreal later in the evening when it's finally done, yeah.
That video, by the way, was brought to you by New Leaf Produce Market. Big news tonight, though. Greg, have you heard this? Big announcement before the game. Blazers, sounds like they're going to reveal that they have won the right to host the Memorial Cup next year. Michael, you on this very show doubted your own city.
I want them to get it, but if Kelowna puts the name forward, it's automatic. Going to Kelowna.
But I do think because it's going to the CHL level, there is more hope for the Blazers.
I don't know. I'm just used to Kamloops, I guess, being kind of looked over. Like they might not recognize the validity of having.
You've got like a Kamloops syndrome. Like you just think that everything's going to be bad and we're never going to win anything.
I still can't believe it.
Yeah, what do you think about it? If it is the case tonight that they make that announcement, which it sounds like they've got all the heavy hitters coming in to make the announcement, they're trying to keep it under wraps, but that sounds like what it's going to be. What do you make of that? The Memorial Cup coming to Kamloops?
I think it's incredible. Again, what has it been?
Since '95.
Since '95. I can't believe that we're getting it, but I definitely think that this team, after watching them in this playoff run, deserves it. I think they've definitely earned it. I don't know what the hesitation was with giving it to Kamloops in the past, but
that was kind of scarring for you, obviously, because you had this Kamloops syndrome, where you thought there's no way if Kelowna's in the running, they're going to win.
Always.
Is that a thing for long-time Kamloopsians? You feel like Kelowna's always going to win?
I think so. I mean, it's how I feel. It's how I see some opinions I see other people express. I was even thinking about that when it came to this Sun Peaks announcement. I read an article where they were quoting the guy from Big White, because the whole time I was hearing about Sun Peaks, like, how did Kelowna not?
I was thinking that this morning. So what happened there?
And I read that apparently they don't get as much snow as Sun Peaks, and Sun Peaks just beat them out because it's a wetter climate. So they decided to go with that, because the whole thing with Cypress is that you remember in 2010 they had to truck in snow because of the on-season, and they want to avoid having to. We'll ask
Al about that, because I'd like to know what the outlook is for Sun Peaks and global warming. Because there's studies I'm sure that you could find that say, oh, it's not so good, but I guess it's probably better than Vancouver. But we'll talk to Al about that. Back to the Blazers for a second.
You were telling me this last night. I think you're right. I think the team that they've iced has really forced their hand.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, a lot of credit. Tom Ghilardi, I mean, he talked to me right after they gave it to Kelowna in 2020. Very outspoken as usual, kind of ripping the league. This was the wrong decision. He basically said our bid was better. It made more sense. And then he, of all the owners, nobody else made their claim known publicly, but for this 2023. But Tom basically was aggressive, and he brought his team on board and got the bid committee with Norm Daly and the city of Kamloops, who all deserve credit. And they really said, we want this thing. Like, this should be ours, and nobody else was outspoken. I think that aggressiveness was big, and the fact that it went to the CHL and not the Western League was big. So if it all does happen tonight, if it doesn't, we look really dumb. But I think it's going to be announced tonight.
I mean, they said they're announcing something, so that they better have something good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to Al Raine in a second here. This next segment's going to be brought to you by Mike. McDonald's, and some interesting information. Valley View's grand reopening, Mike's neighborhood. Grand reopening of McDonald's starts today, goes until Sunday. They're giving away a 2-year supply of free coffee. Also right now, $1 coffees, $3 Happy Meals, $3 McMuffins at McDonald's at the grand reopening at Valley View. So thanks again to McDonald's for sponsoring the next segment, which is Last Week This Week. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. I know you're just getting off a meeting and hopping right in with us, and some really neat stuff coming out of Sun Peaks right now with the Olympics and potentially coming to Sun Peaks. So what are your thoughts in general about this news that's kind of breaking this week?
Well, the important word is potentially. There's still a lot of work to be done before the feasibility reports are in and everybody understands fully the proposal that the Canadian Olympic Association and the 4 host First Nations will bring forward. So at this point, we're excited, but we're also, certainly fully aware that it's a long way to go to get an IOC Olympic endorsement.
If you could ballpark a percentage of this actually happening, I mean, how likely is this to happen?
Well, I would say at this point, below 50%.
Okay, what's the next big step?
The feasibility team are bringing forward a report in mid-June, and once we see that report, then we'll have a good idea of what's involved and what role Sun Peaks could have. And the 4 host First Nations in Vancouver are spearheading the work that's being done, and they are working with 4 of the local bands, and there's a lot of work to be done on that side too.
Was Sun Peaks approached about this, or did Sun Peaks approach the powers that be, whether it be the COC or the IOC or whoever? I mean, how did this come about?
No, we were approached by the organizing group and the feasibility people and asked if Sun Peaks would be interested in hosting the snowboard and freestyle ski events.
Do you know if Big White in Kelowna was approached?
I think they were.
Are they involved in this at all, or is Sun Peaks the number one choice here?
I think Sun Peaks is the number one choice.
Okay, that's interesting, Mike, with your Kelowna syndrome.
So Al, why the doom and gloom on under 50%, or is that just the whole, including Vancouver getting the bid?
No, I mean, hey, we'd love to see it happen, but realistically, feasibility studies got to come together. The costs have to be reasonable. It would need an endorsement by the province, endorsement by the federal government. Then the Canadian Olympic Committee would have to put together a proposal and submit that to the IOC and the International Olympic Committee. And then, the politics of International Olympics, that's politics that's even maybe sometimes more difficult to follow than national politics. So, winning a bid is still, in my opinion, a long shot.
2 things I want to touch on. Number one, you just mentioned is cost, and the second is global warming, because that's a reason why they're talking about shifting away from the coast. But how is Sun Peaks positioned as far as global warming and its effect on snow up there?
Well, it's not a big issue for us. Our temperatures, certainly during the Olympic period, are well below freezing. And even if there was a degree and a half of warming by 2030, that certainly would have little impact on Sun Peaks.
As we know down here in the tournament capital, anytime you bid on a sporting event or you talk about building a sports facility, there will be people who are up in arms about the cost and how much it is going to affect the taxpayers. So do you know how much this is going to cost to be part of this?
I think that's what's coming out in the June report. The mountain crews here in Sun Peaks, the technical people have looked at the proposed venue, which would be on the slopes of Mount Morrissey, and everybody's concluded we could host the events, concluded that snow conditions would be favorable, and it's a green light from doing the events. We're not involved in figuring out the cost of organizing and administering the games.
Right, and regardless, even if there is that argument against it about cost, there will be an argument about, well, look at the legacy that will be left behind, and I'm sure there are facility upgrades that will be involved in that. So what type of benefit could this have on Sun Peaks in a positive way if you can get these events?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing would be we would hope that there might be some accommodation built for volunteers and folks that could then turn into affordable employee housing after the games, as was the case in Whistler. They built the Olympic accommodation ended up being mostly affordable housing for employees and residents in Whistler. Perhaps that could be a legacy for us. A very important part of this for us would be a relationship with the neighboring bands in our region. There has been issues in the past. We're working to improve our relationship, And because the 4 host First Nations in Vancouver are spearheading this, they will be working with 4 local bands, and I think would give Sun Peaks a great opportunity to move forward with local bands and get some of the issues that have plagued Sun Peaks and their neighboring bands behind us. I think that would be an amazing part of hosting these games.
Al, when we spoke about this story earlier this week, you mentioned that it was really a joint Sun Peaks and Kamloops bid. Can you explain to our viewers just a little bit more about how big a role and what kind of a role Kamloops would play in all this?
Yeah, probably not. But I can tell you that we've been told by the organizing people that they see Kamloops being a strong part of this. Some of the discussions I've heard, obviously, people who want to, spectators who would want to watch these events definitely would be hosted in Kamloops, certainly because the athletes and the officials would be staying in Sun Peaks, so there would be limited availability for spectator accommodation. Then there's tons and tons of volunteers around these events. I think most of them would be hosted in Kamloops, and I have heard that each day the official medal presentations would most likely be hosted in a major facility in Kamloops. So, but definitely the group has said to us that Kamloops, Sun Peaks, this is kind of a joint venture.
What have we missed, Al? What have we not asked you that is interesting about this?
Well, I think you've asked the poignant questions.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, I hope Sun Peaks can pull it off. Mike probably thinks Kelowna's going to swoop in and get it, but I have all the faith in the world in Sun Peaks and Kamloops. And Al, thanks for your time. I know you're busy. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, great. No problem. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
All right. Michael, that was interesting. The First Nations relations was interesting. I didn't really think about kind of the mending offenses that could go on. What stood out to you?
Despite what Al's saying there about, under 50%, it sounds like the Olympic Committee really wants to make Kamloops work. It sounds like it's more than likely that, will at least be included in as a recommendation. Like, it doesn't sound like there's too many negatives that they found, unless something comes back with the cost and the finance, and then Sun Peaks says, "Oh, we can't make that work."
Well, do you remember the other cities off the top of your head that were interested across the world in the Olympics? Like, there's somewhere in Japan.
Yeah, I think we had it on our website actually in that story. I think it was. Oh, there's definitely a Japan bid. Hold on a sec, I got it right here.
This is good.
This
is great for our audience here.
Can't you just cut to another photo of Mike Miltmore with the bear?
You got to be ready when you come on the show, okay? You got to be ready when you come on the show.
Here we go. 2030 games include Salt Lake City, Utah, Sapporo, Japan, and Spain.
Okay, there we go. Mike, thanks for your help today. I think we're supposed to be on the last slide. There it is, our sponsors. Gord's. This is Stephen Gordon, or Gord Stevens. We can't quite figure it out. He's just as loud as Herman is, so trying to figure out his actual name. McDonald's. Mike, can we get one more?
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
And of course, we go back next week. The spotlight goes to Herman, who he's probably upset here. He gets to be the sponsor next week. Again, we thank all of our sponsors. The show can't happen without them. I'm not just saying that. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have these new lovely relationships with everybody that helps us at Lee's Music. For Mike, for Greg the engineer, for Magic Mike, for Bill. I'm Marty Hastings, and we'll see you last week. Born in Kingston, 84.
Yeah, nobody cares.